A cold wave of dread washes over you. You're standing in your kitchen, the porcelain of the mug you're holding feeling like a foreign object against your skin. A simple, ordinary conversation with your partner has just concluded, but the silence that follows is anything but peaceful. "I never said that. You're making things up again. You need to relax." The words, delivered with a detached, almost pitying tone, feel like a physical blow. Your mind, a frantic film editor, races back through the last 10 minutes, replaying the conversation in perfect, horrifying detail. You remember the exact promise he made, the specific words, the inflection in his voice. You could swear on everything you hold dear that your memory is pristine, yet his casual dismissal and the subtle mockery in his tone have planted a seed of doubt. That tiny, insidious seed blossoms instantly into a consuming confusion. You begin to question everything. The solid ground beneath your feet feels like quicksand. Is your sanity eroding? Is your memory failing you? Are you really inventing arguments out of thin air? The reality of your experience, which moments ago felt so certain, now feels flimsy and unreliable. You walk back into the living room, a space that should feel safe, but now feels like a stage for an unwritten, unsettling play. Your heart pounds with a nervous energy that is both frantic and hopeless, a feeling of being constantly off balance. It's the sensation of being perpetually on the verge of an emotional outburst for reasons you can't quite grasp, because every time you get close to understanding, the goalposts are moved. The question, "Was it me? Was I imagining it?" echoes in the empty spaces of your mind, a silent, corrosive acid eating away at your confidence and sense of self. This subtle yet profound sense of being gaslighted has, without you even realizing it, become the new normal. At Love Threads, we don't just talk about relationships, we deconstruct them. We blend authentic, grounded insights with robust, evidence-based psychology, giving you the real intelligence on why we connect, why we sometimes misstep, and how to truly thrive when love feels like a constantly shifting landscape. We understand that this feeling of being crazy is not random. It is a meticulously crafted emotional manipulation. Tonight, we're unraveling the intoxicating yet destructive cycle of the trauma bond and exploring how to break free from the very threads that keep you ensnared. This isn't just a discussion. It is a guide back to the unshakable truth of your own experience. It is about understanding that the love you were offered was in fact a form of emotional control, and that your path to freedom starts with recognizing this painful, undeniable reality. At Love Threads, we don't just talk about relationships, we deconstruct them. We blend authentic, grounded insights with robust, evidence-based psychology, giving you the real intelligence on why we connect, why we sometimes misstep, and how to truly thrive when love feels like a constantly shifting landscape. We understand that this feeling of being crazy is not random. It is a meticulously crafted emotional manipulation. Tonight, we're unraveling the intoxicating yet destructive cycle of the gaslighting and exploring how to break free from the very threads that keep you ensnared. This isn't just a discussion. It is a guide back to the unshakable truth of your own experience. It is about understanding that the love you were offered was, in fact, a form of emotional control, and that your path to freedom starts with recognizing this painful, undeniable reality. The kitchen light hums a soft, yellow glow, a stark contrast to the buzzing anxiety in your mind. He's standing by the counter, arms crossed, a patient but firm look on his face. You can hear your own voice, small and pleading. "But I remember us talking about it. You said we were going to the mountains this weekend." He shakes his head, a slow, pitying smile forming. "Sweetheart, we never had that conversation. You must be confusing it with someone else. Are you getting enough sleep lately? You've been so forgetful." A knot tightens in your stomach. You know you remember. The specific cafe where you were sitting, the way the rain was just starting to fall outside the window, the exact words. But his certainty, his feigned concern, is so absolute, it makes you question everything. A cold wave of doubt washes over you. Did I imagine it? Am I losing my mind? This is what it feels like when your reality is systematically dismantled by the person you trust most. It's not a sudden event, but a slow, methodical erosion of your sense of self. The truth is no longer a shared landscape. It becomes a shifting sand dune, and you are left struggling to find your footing. This is the insidious nature of gaslighting. It's a psychological weapon that uses the very fabric of intimacy, trust, vulnerability, and shared history as its ammunition. The manipulator, through a cycle of subtle deception and denial, forces the victim to question their own sanity. This is a dynamic that millions have experienced, a haunting familiarity that lingers in the emotional debris of past situationships and relationships. The unspoken language of control. The gaslighter operates in a realm of unspoken rules, constantly challenging your perception of what's real and what's not. It's in the quiet moments that the damage is often done. You might be in a group setting, and they recount an event differently, smiling at you as if to say, "Remember how crazy you were?" And you're left to wonder if your memory is faulty. You start second-guessing every word you say, every decision you make, and every feeling you have. This isn't just about a partner, but about the very foundation of your existence. Gaslighting, it's weaponized. The gaslighter encourages you to be vulnerable, to share your deepest fears and insecurities, only to use that information against you later. Your fear of being too sensitive or too emotional becomes their weapon. When you express hurt, they respond with, "I can't believe you're so sensitive. You're overreacting." They use your vulnerability as evidence of your supposed irrationality. This dynamic creates a constant state of internal conflict. Your inner world and outer reality are in a constant battle. The tension between intimacy and erotic distance. The gaslighter creates a false sense of intimacy. They are the only ones who truly know you, who can see past your flaws, while simultaneously creating a vast emotional distance by refusing to meet you in a shared reality. They pull you closer with false promises of understanding, only to push you away by invalidating your experience. The psychological toll is immense. Healthy relationships are built on clear boundaries. Gaslighting is a direct attack on those boundaries. When you attempt to set one, "Please don't talk to me like that." They might respond with, "You're trying to control me," effectively flipping the script and making you the villain. This constant boundary violation trains your mind to accept less than you deserve, to see your own needs as excessive or irrational. The more you defend yourself, the more they accuse you of being argumentative or defensive. It's a no-win scenario that leaves you exhausted and confused. A healthy dating is about finding someone who adds to your life. Gaslighting is a subtractive process. It takes away your self-trust, your peace, and your joy. It's not a sign of love, but a sign of a profound need for control. The person who gaslights is often deeply insecure themselves, and the only way they can feel stable is by making your world unstable. They need you to feel crazy so they can feel sane. This subtle but devastating manipulation is why the healing process is so difficult. It's not just about getting over a breakup. It's about rebuilding your entire foundation. It's about recovering a sense of self that was meticulously eroded over time. And this is why it is so crucial to name this experience for what it is. It's not a mistake you made. It's an experience you survived. The invisible threads. Gaslighting isn't a single act of deception. It is a meticulously woven tapestry of psychological manipulation that leaves you questioning your very sanity. The true danger of this dynamic is its invisible nature. It happens in the small moments, in the casual dismissals and subtle shifts of reality that, over time, build a profound emotional prison. It is a slow, methodical erosion of your sense of self, designed to make you utterly dependent on the manipulator's version of the world. At its core, gaslighting exploits our deepest need for emotional security and validation. A healthy connection, as experts in relationship dynamics explain, relies on consistent, reliable exchanges that build a shared reality. But a gaslighter operates by purposefully distorting this reality. They introduce chaos where there should be clarity, planting seeds of doubt that eventually grow into a forest of self-betrayal. This kind of manipulation preys on your trust in your own perceptions, creating what a prominent therapist might call an erotic distance, a profound sense of disconnect where you are emotionally isolated even when you're physically close to your partner. The manipulator deliberately creates this emotional chasm because true intimacy and vulnerability are terrifying to them. They can't handle the reciprocity of a healthy bond, so they must make you an object to be controlled rather than a person to be cherished. This is not the dance of intimacy. It is a profound power struggle rooted in their own insecurity. The process is insidious and operates on a neurological level. When your partner denies something you know to be true, your brain enters a state of high alert. Your limbic system, the emotional center, registers a threat to your stability. This isn't just about a disagreement, it's about the erosion of your most fundamental reality. A prominent neuroscientist would explain that this chronic state of low-grade emotional distress keeps your nervous system in a constant state of arousal. You become hyper-vigilant, scanning your partner's face for clues, clinging to fragments of truth, all in a desperate attempt to return to a baseline of safety that no longer exists. This is why you feel so off balance and anxious, even when nothing is explicitly wrong. Your body is wired for love, but it's now being rewired for conflict and confusion. This is the psychological engine of the gaslighter. They train you to be chronically insecure. As one popular coach often says, the manipulator doesn't need to change you. They simply need to get you to doubt yourself, and the rest will follow. They exploit a common human vulnerability, the shame of being too much or too emotional. When you react to their manipulation, your partner dismisses your feelings, saying you're overreacting or you're too sensitive. This is a profound act of shame. As a well-known researcher on vulnerability and courage teaches, shame thrives on secrecy and judgment. By making you feel ashamed of your very valid emotional response, the gaslighter ensures you'll keep quiet and suffer in isolation, believing you are the problem. This dynamic is a perverse twist on authentic connection. It uses your own emotions against you, making you the architect of your own emotional undoing. This pattern reveals a hidden truth about love itself. A famous author on the art of loving would argue that mature love is an active practice, a choice to see and honor another person's reality. Gaslighting is the antithesis of this. It is a form of immature, controlling love, where one person's reality is the only one that matters. It is a desperate act of power, where one person's ego is so fragile that they must destroy their partner's sense of self to feel whole. This is not the dance of intimacy. It is a profound power struggle rooted in their own insecurity. The insidious nature of this manipulation means that you are constantly being fed a distorted version of reality. A healthy relationship is a constant exchange of bids for connection, small gestures and words that affirm, "I see you, I hear you, and I value you." In a gaslighting dynamic, these bids are either ignored or worse, turned against you. For instance, you ask your partner to talk about a problem, and they respond, "Why are you always so negative? Can't you just be happy?" This is a classic example of stonewalling and criticism, two behaviors that are known to erode relationships. The simple act of wanting to connect becomes an accusation. Your natural desire for intimacy is reframed as a flaw, a character defect you must fix.
This creates an anxious, preoccupied attachment style within you, a state where you are so desperate for a crumb of genuine connection that you become hyper-vigilant and overly focused on your partner's moods. You are living in a constant state of emotional protest. Yet your protests are met with dismissal, reinforcing the very fear of abandonment you are trying to soothe. This is where the neurological element becomes a vicious trap. The emotional highs and lows of the cycle, the rare moment of kindness followed by a prolonged period of cruelty, are a form of intermittent reinforcement. This is the most potent form of operant conditioning, a behavioral pattern so powerful that it can make a person addicted to a relationship that is fundamentally destroying them. Your brain, in its desperate quest for the next hit of dopamine from that rare moment of validation, interprets the abuse not as a reason to leave, but as a challenge to work harder for the next reward. As a popular behavior expert might say, you are chasing a reward that has been deliberately withheld. This is why a person can be in a relationship that is 90% pain and 10% pleasure, yet only remember and crave the 10%. Your brain is wired to repeat the patterns it knows, and in this case, the pattern is one of seeking validation from a source that is designed to withhold it. The pain you feel, the profound sense of confusion and worthlessness, is not a coincidence. It is a meticulously crafted outcome. This is a topic explored by many, including those who discuss love as a political act. One prominent writer might argue that in a society where relationships are often transactional and tied to power dynamics, gaslighting is a tool of patriarchal control. It makes you feel small and powerless, ensuring that you remain dependent on the abuser's reality and approval. It is a form of emotional theft, stealing your sanity and your autonomy and replacing it with their own.
The architect of a confused reality. Behind every emotional entanglement, there is a mythic, archetypal story playing out. Gaslighting within a trauma bond is no exception. It's a modern-day reenactment of ancient psychological dramas, revealing not just our personal wounds, but the universal patterns of the human psyche. The people in this drama aren't just individuals, they are archetypes, symbols of our deepest desires and fears, each playing a role in an unconscious narrative that demands to be healed. In the language of myths and psychology, the person who gaslights you can be a threshold guardian, a figure who appears at a critical juncture in your life to test your readiness for a new chapter. As a hero on a journey, you're on the verge of claiming a more authentic, self-possessed version of yourself. This guardian, who often appears as a potential lover, forces you to confront your deepest insecurities and fears. Their presence is a psychological and spiritual test. Will you cross the threshold into true self-love and discernment? Or will you remain trapped in the shadowlands of your unhealed trauma? This figure's presence in your life is not a random occurrence. It is a profound catalyst for growth. They are the gatekeeper to the next phase of your life, and the only way to pass is to find the strength within you that they threaten to destroy. The gaslighting dynamic is also a secret contract, a term that suggests some relationships are not accidental. They aren't random encounters, but agreements made on a soul level to facilitate deep-seated healing. The partner who gaslights you may have entered your life to awaken a hidden, dormant part of yourself, specifically your capacity to set firm boundaries, to reclaim your voice, and to value your own sanity above external validation. This person, in their role as a shadow lover, reveals what you deny in yourself, your unhealed childhood wounds, your fear of abandonment, your tendency to conflate love with conditional approval. They are a living mirror, showing you the parts of yourself that need to be brought into the light. The chaos they create is a direct reflection of the unresolved chaos within you, and their lies are a twisted mirror of the lies you've been telling yourself about your own worth. It's a harsh, painful, and often necessary lesson. This dynamic is beautifully illustrated through the lens of Jungian psychology. The gaslighter, or the controlling partner, often projects their own unintegrated shadow onto you. They deny their own insecurities, their own fear of powerlessness, and their deep-seated shame, and instead they project it onto you, making you feel like you're the one who is crazy, unstable, or unworthy. This is an act of psychological abdication. They're so terrified of their own darkness that they force you to hold it for them. Meanwhile, you, in your wounded state, are unknowingly projecting your own anima or animus, your idealized image of a partner, onto them, believing they're the source of your fulfillment and worth, even as they're actively destroying it. This reciprocal projection creates a powerful, magnetic pull that keeps you tethered to a destructive dynamic, blinded by the fantasy of who you believe them to be. Pop culture is rich with these archetypes. Think of the broken hero who needs your unconditional love to be fixed, or the mysterious stranger who is emotionally unavailable, making you work tirelessly to earn their sporadic affection. The siren promises a world of passion and intensity, but ultimately lures you to the rocks of self-destruction. The Shadow King offers security and protection in exchange for absolute control over your thoughts and feelings. These aren't just characters from movies and books, they are psychological blueprints that your subconscious mind is drawn to because they resonate with your unhealed wounds. A toxic person is a container for your unhealed trauma. They are the catalyst for a journey you were always meant to take, the journey back to yourself. The experience of gaslighting forces you into a profound state of spiritual and psychological solitude. As one prominent voice on modern intimacy would say, the gaslighter thrives in the private realm, where their reality is the only one that matters. They isolate you not just from friends and family, but from your own mind, ensuring that you have no one to validate your perceptions. This is a deliberate strategy to dismantle your autonomy. It forces you to look inward, to become your own ally, and to develop an unshakable sense of self-possession that no one can ever take from you. It's an inner revolution born from a deep, quiet resolve. This crucible of confusion and pain is, in a strange and painful way, an initiation. You are being forced to find your own emotional center, to become the adult you never had to rely on, and to build an internal sense of security that is not contingent on another person's approval. You are being asked to become a warrior of your own mind, to fight for your reality and your sanity. This is the individuation process at its most challenging, separating from the false self that was constructed to please another, and stepping into the sovereign being you were always meant to be. It's the journey of turning your back on the fountain of lies that your partner offers and beginning the arduous climb to the mountain of truth, where your own voice is the only guide you need. The relationship wasn't a mistake. It was a painful and necessary rite of passage. Which of these stories feels closest to your own? The need to fix someone, to prove your worth to a phantom, or to break free from a cycle of emotional whiplash?
Rewriting the narrative and practical advice. Breaking a trauma bond is not like ending a regular relationship. It is a profound journey of reclamation, akin to recovering from a deep-seated addiction. The emotional and neurological imprints left by gaslighting are deep, and they will not simply disappear. However, they can be transformed. The first step toward true freedom is to acknowledge the imprint, to sit with the reality of what has been done without judgment. Neuroscience confirms that memories of love don't simply erase, they change their meaning. The goal isn't to forget the pain, but to shift the narrative from a story of failure to a story of profound survival and self-discovery. The most powerful act of rebellion against a gaslighter is to reframe the narrative. You are not a victim. You are a survivor. The toxic relationship wasn't a punishment for some flaw within you. It was a profound learning experience, a psychological crucible that revealed your immense resilience. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" a question that keeps you in a passive, powerless state, you must pivot to asking, "What was this experience trying to teach me?" This is a subtle yet powerful shift from passivity to active reclamation of your power. It moves you from the role of a wounded bystander to the protagonist of your own healing journey. As a popular author on self-development might say, the lessons are in the breakdown, and the breakdown is where you rebuild yourself stronger than before. This reframing allows you to see the difficult person not as the source of your pain, but as a catalyst for your own awakening. Next, you must practice nonviolent self-talk. The voice of the gaslighter, that inner internalized shame the manipulator planted, has likely become a default setting in your mind. This is the internalized shame the manipulator planted. You must consciously and diligently replace it with the voice of compassion. When you find yourself thinking, "I'm so stupid for letting this happen," you must pause and reframe it. Instead, say, "I am a person who was manipulated and I am learning to trust myself again." This is the foundational work of self-love, and it is a battle you must fight daily. It is an act of fierce compassion, a commitment to treating yourself with the same empathy and kindness you would offer a loved one. It's the difference between asking, "What's wrong with me?" and "What happened to me?" As a leading voice on shame and vulnerability teaches, healing begins when we call our experiences by their name and acknowledge that what happened to us was not our fault. The work of setting boundaries is your most powerful tool in this process. This is not about punishing the other person. It is about protecting your own inner peace and reality. A boundary is a clear statement of what you will and will not tolerate. For a trauma bond rooted in gaslighting, this often means no contact, or if that is not possible, extremely limited and dispassionate communication. The person who thrives on your emotional reaction will wither in the face of your calm, unwavering detachment. This practice is a direct application of modern psychology on boundaries, teaching that they are not walls, but fences that define your personal property. When you set a firm boundary, you are not a spectator in your own life. You are the architect of your emotional space. You are reclaiming your sovereignty, one clear, concise no at a time. It's the moment you choose your own sanity over their comfort. In addition to these major steps, you must integrate micro-actions into your daily life that actively reaffirm your reality and your worth. Keep a journal of events and conversations so you can rely on your own written record instead of your fractured memory. This simple act of journaling is an emotional and cognitive life raft. It provides tangible evidence that what you experienced was real, and it gives you a reference point outside of the manipulator's version of events. Practice somatic healing. Connect with your body through exercise, yoga, dance, or even just deep breathing to release the stored trauma. The body holds the score of every lie, every dismissal, and every moment of confusion. You must give it a new song to dance to, a rhythm of safety and release. This isn't just a mental exercise, it's a full-body revolution. Finally, seek out healing practices that center you.
Rewriting the narrative and practical advice. Breaking a trauma bond is not like ending a regular relationship. It is a profound journey of reclamation, akin to recovering from a deep-seated addiction. The emotional and neurological imprints left by gaslighting are deep, and they will not simply disappear. However, they can be transformed. The first step toward true freedom is to acknowledge the imprint, to sit with the reality of what has been done without judgment. Neuroscience confirms that memories of love don't simply erase, they change their meaning. The goal isn't to forget the pain, but to shift the narrative from a story of failure to a story of profound survival and self-discovery. The most powerful act of rebellion against a gaslighter is to reframe the narrative. You are not a victim. You are a survivor. The toxic relationship wasn't a punishment for some flaw within you. It was a profound learning experience, a psychological crucible that revealed your immense resilience. Conclusion and reflection. Every person you've ever loved is a thread in your fabric. Some stay woven in, some unravel, but none are wasted. The trauma bond may feel like a permanent scar, but it is, in fact, an invitation to stop seeking validation in the eyes of another and to find your wholeness within. It is a chance to move from a state of anxious attachment to one of secure, self-possessed love. The gaslighter tried to knot your threads, to tangle your reality until you believed his version of the truth was the only one that mattered. But in the act of untangling, in the quiet, courageous work of trusting your own mind, you are not just loosening a knot, you are beginning a new weave. This time, the fabric is woven not from conditional affection and false promises, but from the unshakable strength of your own truth. You are the protagonist of your own story. And this experience was not the end of your journey, but a profound and painful rite of passage into a deeper understanding of who you are. The goal isn't to forget the pain, but to allow it to transform you. It's about taking the poison that was meant to destroy you and turning it into medicine for your soul. You are moving from a state of reactive confusion to one of proactive, self-possessed calm. The power that was taken from you was never truly gone. It was simply waiting for you to reclaim it. This is your heroic quest, not against an external enemy, but against the internalized doubt that has held you captive. It is a quest to build a sanctuary within yourself so solid and true that no one's words can ever shake it again. You are not defined by the lies you were told, but by the clarity you fought to find. You are the truth that they could not destroy. Have you recognized yourself in the archetypes we've explored? Have you heard the echo of a gaslighter's voice in your own self-talk? We invite you to begin the most powerful act of rebellion against manipulation, to reclaim your reality. What is the one truth about yourself or your past that you have reclaimed after it was denied by someone else? What is one simple truth you can write down and affirm today to ground yourself? Perhaps it's, I am not crazy, or my feelings are valid. Share your experiences and reflections in the comments below, and let's continue to unravel the heart of modern connection one insightful thread at a time. This community is a space where your reality is seen, heard, and honored, no matter what you've been told. By sharing your story, you give others the courage to begin their own journey of reclamation. If this stirred something in you, subscribe to Love Threads for more wisdom on navigating the beautiful, complex landscape of love.